Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my review of Banner of the Maid, an indie strategy RPG that honestly surpassed my expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, especially since like many people out there, I was thrown off by the name of it. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with actual anime maids as we know them. I've covered it before a few times, but I decided it needed its own video review. So without further ado, let's begin. This is a Chinese strategy RPG developed by indie studio Azure Flame. It came out a few years ago on Steam, later ported to consoles. Surprisingly though, it has nothing to do with China or Chinese history. Instead, it's about the French Revolution led by Napoleon Bonaparte. However, you play as his sister Pauline, who gets her own company to fight in the war, after becoming a heroine called the Maid of Toulon. Pauline Bonaparte actually existed, by the way, but obviously she wasn't a soldier fighting under her brother's side. So while there are many historical facts in the story, there are also a lot of liberties taken within fantasy and fiction. In any case, the story is serious with strong character development. Don't be fooled by the astounding fan service that seems way too focused on female cleavage here. The story is mature despite the boob fest. So yeah, great plot, but my two minor complaints are A. The English translation is mediocre at best and could have used a lot more work, and B. No spoilers, but the fact that there is only one ending no matter what you do, and kinda anticlimactic to be honest, disappoints a little. No different routes either. In fact, some of your choices matter greatly here as to what mission objectives you'll get and what characters will join your army, but most of them only earn you points with the different factions of the game, increasing a faction level, upgrades, shop, equipment and items, but nothing affects the ending of the game. Anyway, onto the battle system. There's no magic system here at all. Every unit you control is a commander in charge of a small platoon that fights with swords or guns. There are muskets, sabers, rifles, and cannons. Since the characters have one specific class that can be promoted later in the game only once are weak to others. Instead of a triangle system like in Fire Emblem, there's a square system where one type of class is strong against the next one and so on until you go full circle. Units move on grids and you can always see the range of your enemies so you can plan your strategies accordingly. There is no permadeath here, and if a character is defeated, they simply retreat and conserve their EXP. Sounds easy, right? Hell no! This game's ridiculously hard, with some brutal mission objectives like killing everyone in a set number of turns, or if 2 or 3 characters retreat, it's game over. I swear it can get very unfair sometimes. However, it's also ridiculously good and addicting, since it forces you to rethink your strategies and the use of your units more so than the map terrain. Nearly every mission is masterfully crafted so you really think how you're gonna beat it. Of course, there are a few broken characters like Adelaide here, who's basically a dodge tank, but that's not gonna save you from the game's challenge. Keep in mind I played it on normal mode, but there's also an easy mode and a hard mode. Though you can also do some free quests to grind here and there, including some character quests that reward you with even more development for them. Remember the choice system I mentioned? Well, your decisions also may affect which character side quests you'll get. In fact, before you start any mission, you'll be at your headquarters to watch some scenes between characters as the story progresses. But after every mission, Pauline will go back to her own personal quarters. She lives above a bar run by, actually, Napoleon's fiancé, which is exactly where you get those extra grinding missions or, as I mentioned, the side quests. It's also where she changes to her formal attire to attend meetings with the royals and the different factions, including the queens. This is a great way to break out of the repetitive nature of grid-based strategy RPGs in some form of small social simulation, but nothing changes the fact that the highlight of the game, apart from its glorious fan service, is the combat. Now, Banner of the Maid has an interesting skill system. To learn mostly passive skills, you have to have met a few conditions before you get them with this girl. First, a character needs to be in a specific level, then you need to have the right amount of money to pay for it, and lastly, you need items in the form of reports that you get from the missions themselves. And don't worry, regardless of their class, characters can equip these skills at any time as long as you fulfill the requirements I mentioned. And by the way, at the beginning of this video I said that the game had nothing to do with maids, despite being called the banner of the Maid. I admit I was expecting a game about some maids coming together and forming a maid platoon or something, but nope. Maid is a term that back then in France was used to refer to women such as Pauline fighting in the war. Why? Well, you're gonna have to play the game for that. Don't worry, no modern political BS is there. Maybe except for one particular character, but I strongly believe this character was developed in a very anime cliché. Even Pauline makes fun of that, come on. Finally, the graphics are simple and small, which might tire your eyes after a couple of missions, but the art style is gorgeous, whether you're a man of culture or not. Music has a couple of memorable themes, but it's overall just kinda there. Despite its small flaws though, this is an excellent game, and I strongly recommend it to strategy RPG fans. Suffice to say, it's become one of my all-time favorite indie RPGs out there.